Hey, hold on, hold on. Bag up, Terry. Put it in reverse, Terry. Put it in reverse. Oh, Lord, jeez. What you doing, Terry?
Hey, Sooner football fans. This is your Sooner football fans podcast. You got Terry, Rob, and Caleb here. Boomer Rob.
Boomer Terry.
Boomer Caleb.
Boomer.
And we are coming at you from the still Corona-free podcast palace.
So far, so good.
Do what, Caleb?
Jinx us keep saying that. I mean, that's the only. People keep jinx us. So
In beautiful Norman, Oklahoma, where
We are not affiliated with the University of Oklahoma.
and we can't play golf either.
Well,
We do have eligibility left, and the city of Norman has tightened their grips on social distancing and shelter in place, closing all golf courses, dog parks, city parks, basketball courts, frisbee golf,
I
poker
know
tables.
that people are kind of diligent about this, and I understand it. Don't get me wrong. But if I'm walking the golf course that I live on and there's no one within,
6 feet of you.
I mean, yeah, there's, not going to be anybody. I mean, how is that not social distance?
Well, here's the thing, Rob. If you can't play golf, does that mean your rent goes down?
Well, it should,
So
right?
there you go.
Yeah, I can't use any of the amenities because, I use that pool during the summer, like all summer long. And that's a good. I need to go knock on the head. Listen.
See, there you go. You are welcome, sir.
Yes. So I think the answer is going to be no to that, which means I can go play that golf course.
Yeah. So, part of it I know they said was because of the touching surfaces and touching like surfaces. Because what was the place we played? First time I'd played
Cobblestone.
Cobblestone. You weren't supposed to touch flags.
Right.
And
Well, how are you supposed to get the ball out of the hole if you don't remove the flag?
that's what she said.
I'm just saying.
I know. I mean, we tried, didn't we? It was,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but everything's been shut down. The one thing I don't know how the traffic is when you come over here, Rob, but when I'm coming through town, today was the first day I left work at 5:00 in more than 10 days or 14 days, something like that. Usually, they're on 12th Avenue Southeast where Walmart and Classen Boulevard and all that stuff. It's normally just packed. You can't hardly get through there. Wasn't a car hardly there today when I went through.
So I came from the Chesapeake,
Mm-hmm.
and on the interstate, I didn't even have to slow down.
Really? How's it been on the mornings?
it's like that in the morning too.
Dang.
Yeah,
There's people out, but the only people you see out, it's like people like working, like trucks, like company trucks. You really see like on the highway, that's all you really see is company trucks, really.
But before we get too far in it, I don't know how it slipped my mind. I was supposed to make the announcement that this is going to be a good podcast, guys. This is our 200th episode.
200.
And coming up here just shortly, we have the man himself, Chris Plank from The Plank Show, whole lot of other stuff. And we're going to find out some behind-the-scenes information from him about what it's like on game day with the broadcasting crew. But Chris Plank will be coming up here shortly. And now, anything else on the social distancing orders, guys, that we want to share our frustrations with?
I guess China canceled their basketball league today, so that's not a good sign.
Yeah, China did.
So that's not a good sign for because they're like 4 months or they're just a few months ahead of us, and they already just canceled their basketball league. So that's not a good sign for what's to come ahead, probably.
Well, our buddy Tyler Palmatier, and this is something I was going to talk to Chris about too, apparently had a quote today on Twitter from Lincoln Riley. Tyler is the sports editor for the Norman Transcript. Riley on the prospect of a 2020 season. By June 1st, if players aren't on the campus, that will be very, very telling.
Yep.
So,
listen, y'all, I'm just throwing this out there. If we don't have football, I'm going to probably need to be looking for a job.
So,
I can't imagine the company would just continue to pay me.
Well, and it's not just going to be football. It's going to be all sports.
All sports.
All sports. There, could be 365 days with no sports.
So, yeah, anybody out there that needs their...
Went through Postmates.
I was going to say lawn mowed, but I don't know about that.
I mean, if look right now, unless my job is looking right now, if they don't get some improved for me, I'm there. My boss pretty much told me I have to file employment pretty soon. It's like, all right. So, it's kind of everything's going on right now. I mean, it's just like, a lot of people going through it. So,
yeah, and Rob and I were proud of ourselves that we, social distance so well. We didn't get close to any other groups. We stayed away from the counter.
Yep.
We did our part. It's all you people out there's fault who's not
use sanitizer.
Yeah, I think it's the guys that were in front of us. The group of 5 or 7, however many that was. Maybe that's why. Maybe the mayor saw them. But I'm not going to. We're just making jest of it. It is important, and we do what we're asked. But they are still encouraging people to get out and walk in your neighborhoods, exercise, but don't congregate. And as long as we do that and stay 6 feet away from each other.
What's the difference in walking around a golf course if I can't swing a golf club while I'm doing it? I mean, come on.
Well, Rob, you're preaching to the choir here.
Okay.
I was talking to Mike today, out in Tennessee. It's the same thing there. Everybody said they got some, golf courses out in BFE that nobody cares about. And I told him you and I might just go out to a pasture and play some cow patty golf,
We're going to do the Michael Jordan, Larry Bird thing.
Yeah.
Off the cow, off the barn, in the hole.
So other things in sports, we were talking. We kind of brought it up that the draft. We couldn't even remember when the draft is. It's April 23rd through the 25th.
They're still going to have it.
They're still going to have it. It's just going to be all.
Listen, that's going to be the most viewed sporting event in the last. Like everybody's going to be watching. Like, come on, show some highlights or something.
But the big news, actually, the NFL approved playoff expansion for the 2020 season. 14 teams instead of 12.
Wow.
So
if they play.
Huh?
If they play.
Yeah, it will. They're planning on it.
Yeah.
So what? There's 12 teams will now play on wild card weekend. And so while the number 1 seeds will receive the bye, the 3 division winners that didn't receive the bye will host the 3 wild card teams, while the top seed will face the lowest remaining seed in the divisional round. So more football if we play it.
If we play it. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say,
oh, this hurts so bad just talking about
less than 50. We're at less than 50% now.
Well, here's I'm a genius. They could postpone it instead of not, postpone it until spring and have spring football. A season of spring football.
Okay.
Would you be okay with that?
I'm okay with it as long as we get to play it. Come on.
What is the world? What are we? Forget the world. Us 3 in here. What are we going to do if there's no football September?
Eventually go around stuff to watch too, because no one's making anything right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
pretty sure I'm going to be eating my neighbor. A little meat tenderizer, I should be all right.
Yeah, and everybody keeps going. That's too far in the future, but it's not that far in the future, guys. It's really not. I mean, it seems far away when you're not playing it and everything, but when it really hit home for me was when I was reading that article and they said, the Olympics were pushed back, and I was like, well, that's summer. No, the Olympics end in August, so that's a telltale too.
Yeah.
I said, like, my biggest thing I've always been trying with thinking can't really listen to what China's been saying too, because they've been lying, I think, most of the time. But still, but them to cancel basketball, that's been my biggest thing to hold my hat on for our sports, is because they've been trying to come back with their basketball league, and they finally canceled. That was a big blow today, pretty much for me, for a lot of sports. Is like if they're canceling that, it's just like.
Well, and the NCAA, I guess, ruled today that winter sports do not get an extra year of eligibility, but spring sports do.
Yeah. Well.
So the baseball and softball players get to, but the gymnastics is basketball a spring or winter sport?
It's winter sport.
Yeah, so they're all done. And I agree with that because they had played 90% of their season already.
It's the tournaments left.
That's too bad. That's too bad.
Yeah, I
mean, I guess if they're gonna, like Doolittle from from OU. I mean, if he didn't do what needed to be done during the season, he probably wasn't going to make it anyway. But
Yeah.
I think he'll make it.
Yeah.
What sucks too is now while these players try to go pro in the NFL, they can't get their pro days. So like some people don't know, like some people need that pro day to get recognized.
Yeah.
And now they won't get recognized at all. And people like Cam right now, Cam Newton, like he's like no one wants to sign him right now because they have to give him a physical for his injuries, and no one can. Or like Jameis too, they give him a physical for like his eyes and stuff like that, but no one wants. They can't do that right now because of the corona. Like no one can fly across country and do that stuff.
One thing I do, like, is that we've gone from it being the coronavirus to people now calling it COVID-19 to people like what Caleb just did now calling it either Corona or Rona.
Yeah.
It's the
if you get diagnosed with it, you call it COVID-19 pretty much. It's the only time I see it when people get diagnosed with it.
Yeah. Well, in the healthcare field, it's COVID-19 and, all that fun stuff.
Whatever. I'm sick of talking about it, to be honest with you.
And then Caleb doesn't, and I know you don't, but Caleb, you guys don't watch network TV, so you don't see commercials. Caleb was in here last night. He was like, what the heck? There are already Corona commercials. I mean, Burger King, touch-free ordering.
Almost everything's Corona.
Yeah, lawyers, hey, if you're going to have problems for your small business, call us to help get your. It's like
they have enough time to make all these things with the social distancing and stuff like that.
Well, it's going to change the way we do a lot of things.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that if you go into a restaurant and all that silverware is unwrapped, that's going to be a thing of the past.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be wrapped from now on. And
we made restaurants may be all, B-dubs, they changed from plastic stuff to plates and metal stuff because they used to use the
right.
little we may even the finest restaurants may be plasticware.
Bring your own silverware kind of a situation. I don't know. It's going to be interesting for sure.
Yep. Mad Max Road Warrior.
I got the outfit. I'm just waiting for somebody to say go with it. Right?
But Caleb, is there anything, we got to get a hold of Chris and call him and get him on here. Caleb is going to step out while Chris is on because he bought Star Wars.
Star Wars, Mom. She's been wanting to watch it for a long time.
So
I was supposed to take her out for like her birthday and stuff like that, but just never could really because her back and stuff like that. So I finally came out today, so I rented it.
She will not be disappointed.
Yeah, so Caleb's going to go sit down with his mom and watch Star Wars for her birthday.
It's fantastic.
You are a good kid.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I had something on mind. Ozarks was pretty good. I don't know if everyone's watched that.
Yeah. Have you seen any of the Ozarks?
What am I, about 7 deep now?
Okay. You went past 5.
I think so.
Episode 5. Halfway through it.
I think so, yeah.
Did you?
Let me think now.
Skinny guy.
The relationship, that new relationship.
Old lady.
Oh. Hey, I'm not hating on him. He's got him a sugar mama.
Yeah, but
she's loaded.
I mean, she's loaded. But the thing is like it was a
spoiler alert, by the way.
Yeah, it was a it was
a little odd,
and it was like.
Well, yeah, but only because she's dog ugly. I mean, if she was hot, we'd be like, "Oh, yeah,
I should have seen that part." But yeah, I was like, "Oh my God, they're not showing this."
Oh boy,
it's crazy too.
Yeah, and I wonder, because they're obviously filming this. Is that dude, after that scene, is he just like, oh, come on now.
Goes home and he's like Ace Ventura in the shower taking the whore bath.
A pack of Big Red. And, you know what I mean? Sing the crying game kind of a deal.
I was telling Dad last night, do you think they're going to add this to the next season? Like, I'm pretty sure he would be dead right now with this coronavirus. Because all his businesses are shut down, so he can't laundry money. So I'm pretty sure he'd be dead. Like, the birds would be dead right now. If this is
the birds would be dead if next
he's
year.
He's a smart guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how he's going to give her that money when nothing's open.
Yeah, but it was, that's a pretty good, and Mike sent me where'd my phone go? A deal today. I don't think I've seen it. I'm going to have to look it up on Netflix. What was the name of it? Oh.
I don't know, but talking about that show we were just talking about.
Ozark.
I would just straight up smack that wife of his.
Which, the...
I just can't stand her.
Bird's wife?
Bird's wife. I'd backhand her the next week. Listen, girl.
You do as I say.
You better show some respect.
Medal of Honor on Netflix. Have y'all seen Medal of Honor?
Have not.
Mike says it's real good, so we're going to check out.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited that ESPN bumped up their Jordan doc, the Bulls 96 or 98 team doc. That makes me excited.
Well, yeah, I mean, because the thing about nobody's watching it. Do you know anybody who's watching ESPN? What are they?
I don't, but I want you to know, yesterday I got a tear in my eye.
Uh-oh.
I did. I was almost at sobs. My son, youngest son, came over and he said, "Hey, let's watch the Masters from 1997 on YouTube." I was like, oh.
Okay. Speaking of that, I was thinking about it when I had the shot out of the trees that we filmed.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
what in your opinion? Okay, and
That's one that almost hit me, by the way.
yeah, the best shot in history, in my opinion, history of the Masters. Who was it?
Ooh, there's several. The Tiger chip on
Yeah,
was it 17 there that rolled down and stopped right in front of the hole and then fell in. That was
yeah. Sergio Garcia, though, when he was behind the tree,
and he took off running and hopped up that.
yeah,
little,
he hit it. He had to hit it straight left and sliced it 4 miles, and it rolled right up onto the green.
So what about the shot that Phil hit on? I think it's 15. It's that par 5 that goes across the water.
Mhm.
He was up in the pine straw, and he hit it like a 4-iron or something, just right onto the green. That was pretty sweet.
So did y'all watch it?
That was year he won too, by the way.
Did you watch it?
We're going to. Well, if I'd have got off early today, we would have watched it today,
Yeah.
but probably tomorrow or the next day or something like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think this week on ESPN they're having a 2K tournament with the players. The players are playing their teams. They're having a tournament.
That's what worries me is that we're going to. This is ushering us into Techno Bowl, and
I mean, everyone's saying it's the future of sports. Now it's not. Maybe now I have no choice but to use.
So they're going to use like a game controller, or are they?
I'm pretty sure they'll probably stream from their own houses and just use their own.
Yeah, they're
controllers.
doing-
And there's
Okay.
days that people
So it's
play
not like a real
online.
golf swing. They're not in like a
Right.
simulator kind of a
Yeah.
deal.
Well, I know like
Well,
there talks about Tiger and Phil doing that.
yeah, NASCAR did.
They've been doing in, like racing.
Yeah,
with,
they've been using that to show races and having.
having people race for the
Yeah.
cup. I mean, so I mean,
Maybe we should have a Pac-Man tournament, Rob.
Yeah.
I watched a Fistful of Quarters, the King of Kong. That's on YouTube for free. That's pretty good. It's about the guy that has a record for King of the
Donkey Kong?
Donkey Kong.
Mhm.
It's a good documentary because that guy everyone in that movie is a character, but a guy like he pretty much gets a record and he has to lose to some guy in Seattle. And then like also have you seen the movie Pixels?
Yeah.
And then the Peter Dinklage character. That's who he's based off of. And that guy's like a real life guy. Like he has long hair like that. He owns hot sauces and he's just real cocky. Like he's a very arrogant and cocky guy. And he was like a champion of Donkey Kong for like 20 years. And the guy broke it. Then he broke it again, but he didn't break it in person. He broke it on recording without people. You gotta watch it. It's very interesting how he breaks it. And
Have you ever played Donkey Kong, Caleb?
I've played it a couple of times.
In the arcade, or
Yeah,
Like kinda-
arcade. Yeah.
because in the arcade system is best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the guy's record was 875,000. He had it for like 20 years, and the guy from Washington got over 1 million, and he didn't believe him, and then like he pretty much got it taken away. And, like, oh, you just watch it. It's all free on YouTube. It's really entertaining, and because most of the people on that deck, like on dock are characters themselves. They're crazy.
Well, it's that time. Caleb's going to go watch a movie with Mama, and we're going to get Chris Plank on the phone, talk a little bit of Sooner football.
See y'all later.
All right, Sooner fans, on the phone with us. Once again, proof that Rob and I are living right. Right, Rob?
Right. Yeah.
Caleb, not so much. Caleb is but from Sports Talk 1400, Sooner Sports TV, co-host it's Chris Plank. Chris, this thing is so doggone long of what you do for a living. What all do you do?
Oh, gosh.
Because I pulled your bio, and you host a Sirius XM Big 12 radio show, right?
That's right.
And
Right.
you do something on ESPN radio too, right?
That's right. No, it's, actually, it's on Fox Sports Radio.
Fox Sports Radio with
yeah. So basically, it was kind of funny when I was at the Women's College World Series last year. Someone said, "How does it all piece together?" I'm like, "It's a puzzle that's waiting to just fall apart at any moment." And by the way, just to kind of prove, that year we ended up, well, last year everyone knows, we lost to Alabama, had to play them again, so I had to call off for one of my jobs the night of, my Fox Sports radio show. So, yeah, I do a Monday through Friday show, 9 to 11 a.m. on Sports Talk 1400 and 99.3 FM. Those all across the country that listen to you can find it on the Sports Talk 1400 app or sportstalk1400.com. I know you guys have James on. It's the same station that he's on. I do a daily show from 3 to 6. I'm kind of the fill-in co-host, but, you know, it's me and Gabe Eicher and Holly Rowe, and Holly's usually the main host. She travels and is busy when sports is in, so Gabe and I get a chance to hang out quite a bit. And then on Sunday nights from 10 to 1A, I host a Fox Sports radio show with Arnie Spanier. And then the rest of the time is filled in doing all of my Sooner responsibilities. So to me, it's staying busy as I can. And, well, it sounds crazy to say it, guys, but it's as busy as it's ever been right now, despite the fact that we have no sports. I'm loving it.
And like you say, you're also the Sidelines reporter, right, for the
Correct.
The radio broadcast.
It's kind of funny that that's number one. That's the number one job is OU. These are other things are my side jobs.
Yeah.
I should point that out.
And
Numero uno is OU, Sidelines for football, play-by-play for softball, and wherever else they want to use me.
You're on the Sooner screen several times during the game, giving us updates on during game times, and like you said too, you're the voice of Oklahoma softball.
Yep.
So
I enjoy that broadcast a lot. I listen to almost every game, so unless I'm there.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I will say this: it's interesting because you brought up the scoreboard, right, and the updates. Third commercial break of the second quarter, and then the third commercial break of the third quarter. And I've always joked with whomever ends up the young lady that runs it now. Her name is Alex. The person before her was Alex as well too. And it was kind of the brainchild of Brandon Meyer and Sooner Sports Properties to do the mid-first scoreboard update. And I tell them from everything I laid out to do with softball, sidelines, and all that stuff, there are more people that know me from that scoreboard update than anything else. And then the second thing on the softball, we appreciate it. You know, I never could have imagined that I would fall in love with a team, and maybe I should say a program, because the team changes every year. But yeah, I appreciate all of your podcast listeners that check it out, and I love it, man. I'm really sad that we're not getting to play right now. You know, I was kind of cool with it, with a little more family time, and we traveled a lot. But when I watched that 2017 17-inning game the other night, and I realized, oh my gosh, there was so much that led up to that, and so much in the season that we don't get to experience. So I'm kind of in that, what do they call it, the 7 stages of grief? I haven't quite reached the acceptance level yet that sports isn't here and softball is done.
I don't think any of us have we, Rob?
No. And you know, speaking of softball, some of those girls that are seniors, you think they're going to get an opportunity to come back? And you know, like Jocelyn Alo, she's
you know, it's going to be interesting because I think there's still so much to learn about that, and I think I'm still learning a little bit. In fact, I reached out to, you know, I don't try to bug coaches too much, but I reached out to just some friends that might understand it a little bit better. And they even the way they answered the questions were to my understanding. So when you think about, all right, well, you've got 3 players coming back that were going to be gone, in Shannon Sale, G. Juarez, and Nicole Mendez. All right, they're back, but were the players were sophomores still sophomores? You know, were the players that were freshmen still freshmen?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, do we have an increased amount of, I think it's like 12.5 scholarships you get for softball. Maybe it's 13.5. But do you get more scholarships then? So there's a lot, I think, still to kind of hash out, because don't get me wrong, it's great what they said about, you know, giving an extra year of eligibility, or at least allowing them to continue on. It's just, I think there's still, it's going to be on the university from the perspective of how they can fund it, or if they can fund it. I don't think that's going to be a problem at a place like Oklahoma. But I think there's still a lot to be figured out on that front.
Yeah, because, you know, with a lot of athletes, I mean, you know, especially the spring sport, whether it's male or female sports, this is their senior year is it. They're, you know, know, you know, they're elite athletes as it is in college, but, you know, there's not really a pro softball league that gets anything, and you know, and even with baseball, you know, to get into the majors, that's even the elite of the elite of the elite. this is the
Right.
last hoorah, for these kids. And I'm a high school athlete. That's as high as I got up in it. I couldn't have imagined what some of these high school kids are going through now, that no state tournament at the big house, no prom, no graduation, and their high school careers are over. And now, and some of these
Right.
college kids, at least the NCAA, I think, did it right, saying, hey, we're going to allow them another year, because I couldn't imagine your career, your sports career, ending like that, just suddenly, abruptly.
I think, yeah, and you're right there. I think there's one thing too, is that you have 5 years to finish 4. You had 3 or 4 former players that were with the Sooner softball team this year that were, not necessarily coaching, but were fifth years that were helping out and just doing everything they could. But there's a handful of the seniors, and not just our softball team, but baseball and others, that are going to complete their degree.
Right.
So what do you do then? You can't just play college sports without going to school.
Right.
So it's like, hey, I'm here, but listen, I gotta take tonight off because I put my shift over. Whatever. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how they hash through that, because again, I'm excited. Don't get me wrong, I'm excited about it. I think it's great, but I think there's still a lot to kind of figure out, a lot of dots to be connected and T's to be crossed, if you will, exactly what this is going to look like.
Yeah. And first, also, hats off to, you guys who, your career is sports, because, I listen to you. I listen to just me and Rob, or at least I do. I try to listen to everybody I can. I have my favorites. Unfortunately, I don't get to listen to you as much because I'm in my office, and if I have something going in my office like that, people think I'm not working. So, I mean, your whole. I mean, we just read everything that you do. You went through everything that you do, and you're the polar opposite of me. I'm in healthcare, so I'm like 4 times busier than what I've ever been, or I've been in years. And you guys are having to figure out stuff to talk about and keep people's interest on. I mean, how are you going about doing that stuff? I mean, are y'all just, I know everybody's been on the Rob won't watch it, the Tiger King, and all that fun. I mean, how hard is it to come up with stuff to put a show together now?
I'm pretty lucky in that at least on the local end, my show is only 2 hours. So it's been, we're trying to do everything that we can with our station, which is locally owned,
right,
to just, give back to the community as much as possible and have local businesses. And I've always thought that, we do a radio show that just happens to be on a sports station.
Right.
And we're going to end up always talking about Sooner sports, but I think sometimes the joy in radio is to be able to tell the stories about how we got, let's just say hypothetically, how we ended up getting to Lubbock when we were taking a road trip, or what happened whenever I got lost in the Superdome whenever we were doing post game. I think those sometimes really happen. Those are the kind of things that I think sometimes can be more entertaining. And again, at the core, it's sports. But also, the NFL is kind of the gift that keeps on giving right now. I've argued with many that are, oh my gosh, there's nothing to talk about. I say, are you kidding me right now? What would we be talking about even if basketball was going on and Tom Brady signed with the Buccaneers? What would we be talking about even if we got to the Elite Eight in the Final Four and the NFL draft was around the corner, or college football was in the midst of spring ball? So I'm not really, I don't know, maybe it's just because I've done it for so long. I've been doing talk radio since 98, 99, that it's not something that has really concerned me too much. But again, I do a 2-hour show every day. It's like I have sympathy for those that do 4, or anyone still doing a 5-hour show. So it's got to be a challenge. But there's always people that love to talk. There's always memories to share, and there's always life that keeps living. So, and I also think that this is a big public interest story with how everyone's combating COVID-19 and how they're dealing with it. And obviously, Terry, you being in healthcare, you can, or Rob, excuse me, you being in healthcare, you can understand it better than anyone. The challenges right now that everyone's going through. So, it's kind of weird for me though, in that from a talk show perspective, you know, you don't have a man, what happened to the Thunder last night to lean back on. But I've found myself in this time being busier on whenever, you know, April 1, April 2, whatever it is of 2020, than I would be if the games were going on. Because if the games were going on, I'd have a broadcast to do. I'd have to prepare for. You know, that would be it. And then when we were done, we'd put things together and we'd move on. Now, you know, we're editing a podcast that's going out, you know, 3 times a week at Soonersports.com/podcast. We're going through and cutting up classic games, and not just, you know, the TV side of it, but the old radio broadcasts. You know, I'll tell you guys this, a little scoop on what was going to be the spring game date, April 18th. We're going to put on the Sooner Radio Network the 2000 National Championship radio broadcast. I mean, everyone's seen the TV side of it, but how many people have heard Bob Berry and Merv Johnson call the action from that day? So, you know, we got a lot of cool things that we're working on right now and that we're kind of building towards, but it's just, you know, it's kind of wild in that you would think that it's a little deader than it should be, but it ended up being a fun challenge, number one. And it's also ended up being a little bit more juiced than maybe you might have thought it would be. With everything that you do, obviously with your eyes and your heart towards those who are afflicted with this illness and those who are battling to help, you know, curb it, prevent it, and obviously fight against it too. So it's been a very unique time. Right.
Now, Rob and I actually had a pretty good idea the other day that you might throw around with the guys there is get some old 70s, you know, John Brooks and those guys, okay, and just get the game film and have Toby call it.
Almost like it was live.
Like it was live. Because
cool.
you know, just pick some and give him the stat card. Or this is who's out in the game right there. And then have Toby call it and then do Brooksy's call.
I would be all in on that.
Ooh, I like that. I mean, Toby's calling guys playing basketball on his driveway right now, Terry. So I think he'll pretty much do whatever he takes to call a game right now.
Yeah,
so,
but like the Joe Washington run against USC, you know, a Buster Rhymes run, just some big plays, you know, the Jiminy Christmas plays.
And 85 national championship, that would be
my gosh, and just awesome. Certain plays and go, this is, you know, and don't let Toby hear the Brooks call, but let him call it and then go, hey, here's how Toby would have called it.
I'm not even kidding you. Now, obviously, we're all kind of challenged right now because, you know, for the most part, the university shut down. So, in fact, as we're sitting here talking, I'm looking at a TV camera that I have in I can say my studio to sound cool, but it's my son's bedroom.
Yeah.
And so, I don't have a Sooner den like you guys do, but in my son's bedroom, you know, we're able to do TV from here. But I'm not even kidding. I think that is a fantastic idea, and as soon as we hang up the phone, I am reaching out because I think that would be just awesome, right?
Yeah.
And here's the problem, though: is Toby's such a diehard Sooner fan for life? He's probably already heard all of them, so we'll have to come up with some pretty good ones.
Well, yeah, you'd have to do it kind of like what you guys do with Lincoln. Is just just go find big plays, and then just
I like it.
Put it on a screen, put a microphone on him, say here's who's in the game. Start to play, and then let him call it.
Let's go! Great idea.
I think the whole game. I would listen to the whole game. I promise you, I would.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Toby do the whole 1985. You know, hear him call Jamel Holloway to Keith Jackson. You know, I mean, I just think it'd be cool. Just
it'd be fantastic.
You know, a little bit of nostalgia mixed with.
And since every Sooner fan we're just begging for something right now. You know? Like I'm watching the Players Championship from I don't know how many 3 or 4 years ago.
I love it. I absolutely love it. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. I'm going to make that happen.
Sweet.
Outstanding.
On some news and notes as far as what do you think about the NFL expanding the playoffs? They're expecting to play, apparently. They said they're going to start in 2020. So
I am a diehard, lifelong, tried and true Los Angeles, Oakland, then Los Angeles, then Oakland, and now Las Vegas Raiders fan. So if you're going to expand the playoffs, which, by the way, I've done the math. Oakland's made the playoffs 2 times in the last 20 years. If they would have expanded the playoffs before, they still would have only made the playoffs 2 times in the last 20 years.
Well, there you go.
But no, I love the idea. I love the idea, and I am, I'm a college football fan first, but I love the NFL. I mean, I absolutely love it. I love my Raiders, but I also love the league in general. I love playing fantasy football. I love everything about it. So, if you're telling me that you're going to give me one more playoff team, and you're really going to increase the value of that 1 seed, then I'm all about it.
Oh yeah.
I think it's great. It's kind of, I don't like doing too much revisionist history, but think back to last year. Just if the Chiefs had to end up playing in the first round, how different might that have looked? If Baltimore might have been in a situation they wouldn't have to worry about seeing Tennessee in their first game, how different might that have looked? So yeah, I'm all for Garrett Emig. Many people might not know this about Garen. Garen actually was at the radio station that I worked at when I got my first job. He was a radio guy before he got into doing writing, and he always had to take that. How is more sports a bad thing? Because I've never really understood this, because we were fighting at the time. Terry, to give you an idea of how old I am, we were fighting at the time to try to get a downtown arena built in Tulsa. It's like 98, 90, maybe 97, and the whole take that Garen always had, and it stayed with me. How is an opportunity to host more sports and play more sports a bad thing? And here we are, some 20 years later, and we've seen the growth in Tulsa. And then in my mind, I'm saying, all right, let's see this continued growth in the NFL. I don't understand people that are complaining about it, unless, I don't know, you're a Patriot fan or now a Chiefs fan that doesn't want to have to worry about more teams getting in, or another game where you could potentially have an injury. Because, I mean, listen, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are not going anywhere for the next 15 years, which is just painful for me as a Raiders fan. But the reality of it is more football is good in my book. More opportunities to see playoff games, and that triple header Saturday and that triple header Sunday is just going to be awesome on that first wild card Saturday and Sunday of the National Football League.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, and see, here's my take too on the other football league. What is it?
XFL.
XFL. And then I was trying to think of the one last year, the
American football,
the
American Alliance Football,
AAF. Which I liked both concepts. Okay, I really liked what they were doing last year, but here's my deal. And I know I'm just a dummy from Oklahoma, but the problem is how they market it. And listening to people talk about the XFL ratings that were gradually coming down every week, I have opinion on why that is. Because the product doesn't look good. Not the football isn't good, but when you got a football game in an 80,000 seat stadium or a 90,000 seat stadium and there's only 30,000 people there, it looks terrible. It looks like there's no interest. Why don't these leagues go into a small market town like Oklahoma City, like Memphis, and you're
played at Taft Stadium
and build a 20, 30,000 seat stadium with room to grow, okay, and play it to where it looks good. And you sit here and you're not going to tell me that if Bob Stoops was coaching the Oklahoma City Renegades, that stadium wouldn't sell out every single weekend. Instead, they're putting it in Arlington in a giant baseball stadium, and it looks like nobody's there, even though we know there's 30,000. But they get that angle, and you look up there, and there's nobody in the stands. And then the Seattle games were the same way. Seattle looked empty. That stadium is massive, and get it out of those big NFL markets and put it in the smaller NBA markets and watch it run. I guarantee you it will work.
And I'm not going to pretend to understand the business model. I've tried to understand Vince McMahon's creative wrestling for the better part of ever now, and it makes no sense to me. But there's got to be some reason why they're doing it, right? There has to be. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It was wild because the AAF last year we went to the Sooners softball team went to Utah for a series, and when we got there, we ended up getting snowed out in game one, and the Utah AAF team was playing against San Diego. that night. And it's kind of weird to even think about how, okay, you look at Salt Lake City and maybe a little bit of a better market, but their stadium's massive, and you watch, and nobody's there either.
You're right.
So it's just, I think if this has legs, and again, I don't think it's a big if. I think it's coming back next year, the XFL, of course. But to me, that's the business model. Is, you know, look how crazy St. Louis does for it. Look at the St. Louis games. They had to actually open that upper deck. So go build your soccer stadium to get your MLS team. Let the football team play there. You know, do the same thing at LA, which they did, and they got decent crowds there. They didn't try to put it in the Coliseum or anywhere like that. You know, put it in Frisco. I still don't understand why they played it at the old Ranger Stadium. So I'm with you. Find some smaller markets where you can get a little bit more passion. Oh, by the way, be good. Don't have a team that goes out there and gets beat 50-0, and we'll go watch the game.
Yeah, I mean, when arena football, you know, I used to go to the arena games here. I watched arena football. You know, it was entertaining. It was football. Anything that has, you know, American football in it, I'm pretty much in. Rob, even, you know, we've talked about it for, what is it? The not All American. It's the indoor league.
Oh yeah.
The Champions League.
The Champions League.
Have you ever watched the Champions League football?
I think it used to be called the Lingerie League.
It used to be called the Lingerie League.
Yeah, that's right.
It's some good football.
There's an audience for it.
There's
You know, it's interesting. I mean, you bring up arena football, and that's funny because that was near and dear to my heart. I was, you know, I crazy side story. I traveled to Puerto Rico to call one of the AFL football games. Yeah, and you know, my brother-in-law played for the Tulsa Talons when they won the championship, and I was the PA guy for the Talons for the longest times and did the radio
that's
for a
cool.
couple games. So I loved arena football. I'll never understand why that didn't work more, because that was a really good time. That if there is something that if I had $1 billion and I would try to come up with a way to recreate it and maybe reinvent it, I loved arena football. I loved the little rivalry between the Yard Dogs and the Talons.
Yeah.
And, you know, it wasn't even arena. It wasn't even AF1. It was AF2. And then they kind of messed the league up a little bit when they tried to expand. But yeah, like, hey, going back to that original point, man. More football, even if it is that Champions Indoor League. More football. I'm all about more sports. I'm never going to complain.
That's right. So I want to ask you for a little bit of help here with what we've been doing with help of Soonerstats.com. Was we're trying to narrow down great Sooner names. Okay. Doesn't matter what they did, how well they did, but just a good football name. Okay. And Sooner Stats sent me the entire list of every Sooner ever.
Wow.
And so I scrolled through it pretty. If you didn't have a cool name and it jumped out at me, you got passed up. But we've been narrowing it down every show to where we're wanting to get like a 24 name bracket. Okay. Can you help us?
I like it.
Help us narrow some of these names down. Just a yay or nay. Keep it or kick it. Okay.
Okay, and there's no limit on numbers here, right?
Right.
Okay. All right, let's go.
All right. First one is Jimmy Gilstrap. Played for
that's money right there.
from 61 to 63. Great football name. Jermaine Gresham. 2006.
Dude,
is
you
that?
Know what?
Doesn't matter what he did. You got to remember.
That's right. You just wish you could have had that year. Wish you could have stayed healthy.
I know.
I think still one of my all-time favorite press conference moments with Bob was as that. I don't even want to think about the year, but the season 10 when they lost to BYU and lost Sam in the opener. When I think it was, I don't remember the media member, but about 4 or 5 games into the season, they asked, do you think there's a chance Jermaine Gresham could come back after the season? And Bob looked at me and goes, no, he's a first-round pick.
Absolutely.
And so they got to shut everything up there. But, yeah, by the way, Gresham, one of my all-time favorites, too. I love watching that guy play. But, yeah, great name, of course. But that's okay. So that's the problem with this, right? Because
yeah,
I'm putting too much in what
he
did as
can't put
just the name. Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna say a no on him.
Okay. Yeah. Probably better off.
Laramie Hammer. 2000 to
God, hammer your
2000.
name. Let's go.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, absolutely. Right?
Yep. Rico Harley, defensive tackle in 1995.
Wow. That's just a great name. I want to know the genesis of that name. Like, what made Dad and Mom say his last name's Harley? He's got to be Rico.
Yep. We have some theories on some of them.
Yeah. We're going to leave him on there. George Hornung, Hornung, left tackle in 1960. George Hornung. That's too hard to say.
I might pass on that one.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, and I'm sorry. I'm just trampling all over Rob. I'm sorry.
No, hey, you're good.
I don't know about that one, Rob. I think I might be out on that one.
Yeah. Let's see. I want to try to pronounce this one. Mike Chronopoulos. Hronopoulos, defensive end in 1971. Mike Chronopoulos.
If you can't pronounce the name, right?
And I'm pretty sure at least one of those letters is silent in there. So I don't know if it's the H or the R, but one of them,
Okay. Next one is Creed Humphrey.
Oh, Creed.
Yeah.
Creed, yes. He might even win the thing in the practice rolling on through. What a great football name. And then when you look at him and you find out his name's Creed, you're like, yeah, that's Creed right there. By the way, saw him at the gymnastics finale this year, their last home meet. Looks great, man. I'm excited for
we actually ran into him and a couple of the players, the last week that Campus Corner was open.
Yep.
And I met him down there. Nice guy, because I've got a nephew that's named Creed, and he's about the size. He's 12 years old, and he's about the size of Creed Humphrey. He's a big old kid. He's my height. He's about 5'10". He wears size 13 shoes already. So, but Creed is definitely in. Next one is Joaquin Iglesias. Is that a football name?
Yeah,
or
great name. It sounds though too like he might have a side job as a pop singer.
That's what I was thinking. So yeah, that's a mix. Horace Ivory.
Ooh.
1970.
You got Horace in there. That's pretty good, man. That's a tough one.
Yeah, 74 to 76 halfback Horace Ivory. I love.
How come nobody names their kid Horace anymore? I mean, that probably didn't even break my top 10. I'm just saying.
Next one is Durwood Keaton. Safety, 1972 to 73. Durwood. Durwood. Durwood.
So Sooners Stats kept all these all-time rosters? Oh, my God.
Yeah, I mean, and they were very, very, very nice. I sent them an email, and I said, I know, because they do a lot of work putting that together. But I told them what I was doing, and I said, I just need the list of the names in the position. If you could do that. And he was like, hey, I love what you're talking about doing. Here you go. They sent me a spreadsheet that took 9 years to download off my email. But next one is it's either Summy or Sumi Kid, Summie. No position, but he played in 1926 and 27. Sumi
Kid. The name alone. Let's go. Yeah, that's a great name.
He's in.
That's a great name.
Kenny King, 1975 to 78, fullback.
Oh, man. My first introduction to an Oklahoma State football player.
Because he's a Raider.
That was because he was a Raider.
Yeah.
That's right. And whenever I was 5 years old, 6 years old, he won the Super Bowl and made a big play against the Eagles on a touchdown down the sidelines. I think it was the longest pass ever to a fullback. And as soon as I found out where he went to college, I wanted to be a fan of him. So they found out that Steve Sewell from the Broncos also played for Oklahoma. And I was like, ooh, I don't know. But no, it was
good.
Yeah, he was my introduction to the Raiders. So yeah, and I got to meet him a couple of years ago. So give me Kenny King all day.
Yeah,
all day.
It's a great name and a great player. His
great
dude
name.
was a beast on the field.
Again, I keep falling into my trap, though. I'm not looking at the name. I'm just thinking about my experiences with him.
Yeah. Hard not to.
Cedarian Lamb, a.k.a. CD. CD Lamb.
CD, man.
Yeah, that's a
Great
name.
name.
Yeah, great name.
Yep.
Next one, Granville Liggins, a guard from 1965 to 67. Granville.
By the way, he has his own section in the stadium. Just like
so then yes, right, Rob?
and he looks like that kid
put him
from what show was that? What you talking about, Willis? That dude. He looks like that dude.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he does. I'm not kidding you. Not the midget. The other one. The one that played Willis. That's what he looks like. I'm not kidding you. He wore number 66. Just FYI.
The small person.
There you go.
All right, little guy.
Get us in trouble.
Yeah. Okay. Next one is Joe Don Looney, halfback, 1962 and 63. Yeah, that's a given.
No doubter.
Moses Madu. It's a cool name, but I don't know if it's a football name.
I don't know if it's memorable, but it sure is. It's one of those that I'll tell you what, a lot of people sure couldn't figure out. Madu? That was one we'd have to help people out with a lot, yeah.
Yeah. Next one is Stalker McDougal, 1988 to 89 offensive lineman. Great name.
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah, really good name.
His thighs were like tree trunks.
Yeah.
That dude was large.
Here's a good one. Newt Medlock, N-E-W-T Medlock, 1895. Played for the Sooners. Newt.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is either that or it sounds like someone who's running for a Senate seat. I like it.
So we're keeping him. Next one is Paul Miliazzo.
Oh, again, though, this is another guy that I kind of just think about how awesome he was. So it's kind of hard for me, but that's a great name. That's another
and he's
one
been,
of those. It's a little.
He's been here at the podcast Ballast, been on the podcast with us. He is the our good friend Tara Portillo, also known as
Rabid Sooner.
The Rabid Sooner. She had a crush on him growing up, and so we got them together so she could meet him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so he gets through this round just because of that. So Trevor Nutt, offensive lineman, 97 to 2000.
It's kind of wild. Some of these guys are falling in the range where I should know their name, and I have no idea who they are.
Let's see here.
That's the one for the giggles, though, right?
Yeah, Trevor Nutt.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try to pronounce this one. Steve O'Shaughnessy.
See, I think if you can't pronounce it, it's automatic.
Well, yeah, but it's O apostrophe SHAUGHNESS. Shaughnessy. Anybody with a Shaughnessy in their name.
Yeah.
Defensive.
I can be turned on this one.
Defensive
I'm not
back.
ready to die on that hill yet.
Okay, defensive back from 69 to 71. But, okay, it's not any easier to say Obaganyo Okoronkwo or Chichoki Anyonyigicha. Those are the next three. O'Shaughnessy, Obo, and Onyegicha. Out of those three,
So,
only one out of those three going in. Huh?
Okoronkwo, who is Obo.
Obo.
With the nickname, he automatically gets to move on.
Correct.
Right?
Yes, correct.
Chijoke Anyonyigicha was one of my all-time favorites because the late, great Bob Berry, it's such a hard name to say that every time he pronounced it, he would giggle a little bit. And I think it's in there. Like, gotcha, got the name right. So those are always that were near and dear to my heart. Obo, by the way, guys, just I know we're running down the home stretch of these names, but Obo is such a great dude. He was so good on one game. Real quick story. One game we were playing Tulane, his senior season, his final season, and it wasn't going so well. We'd struggled. And I stand behind the benches, right, and I'm always kind of listening. And I was kind of looking at the scoreboard, and he was yelling. He goes, hey, we need some privacy. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't want to make anyone mad, right? So I left, and I was kind of watching him talk to everyone, and we ended up rolling. In the fourth quarter, he grabs me again. He goes, hey, man, I'm sorry. I trust you, but it was one of those things where I needed to talk to my guys. I'm like, you're playing a football game, dude. I'm the sideline reporter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So Obo, to me, automatically moves on just because he might have been the nicest, kindest dude I ever met, and he had the wildest game against Texas, I think, that we've seen for defensive player in a long time.
Oh yeah, and I was just gonna. That's one of my favorite pictures of a Sooner, of him after that game. You know, head to toe covered in sweat and mud, and it wasn't muddy.
Yeah.
It was because it was hot, and
Yeah, he
that
laid it all out.
dude fought through holds the whole entire second half. I mean, blatant, grabbing him, you know, by the collar, and he just gave everything. So are we going to go? So we got Anya Getcha and Obo on there. We're going to drop O'Shaughnessy.
Yeah, I think we move on those two and we drop O'Shaughnessy, even though it is a pretty cool name.
Okay, last one of mine and Rob's favorite, and we've still got more, but we're still working it down. But the last one with you is Elvis Peacock.
Oh,
Halfback, 74 to 77. Okay. Not only was he a great running back, he had to be the toughest dude you ever met, because growing up with the name Elvis Peacock, he had to get in fights when he was in grade school.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely. But it's one of the you know what? It might be up there with like a Busta Rhymes as a 1 seed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's say you're saying 24. Let's say you got 4 regions of 6. Yeah, he's up there as a 1 seed with probably a Creed Humphrey in our all-name league. But yeah, it's Elvis Peacock, an all-timer right there.
And I'll read you some names of people. We had 2 little sections, and I'll just read you some names. They're already gone through of some great players with nicknames, okay, that had nicknames, like George Buster Rhymes, because I didn't know Buster Rhymes' name was George, but it was George Buster Rhymes, okay? There's one going through is Buford Boots Bagby, played in the 64 to 66. Of course, Brian the Boz Bosworth, Bubba Burcham, Jimbo Elrod.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Here's one of our favorites. Leon Mule Train Heath was a fullback in 48 to 50.
That's got to be Final Four potential right there.
Mule Train because, or actually, our stats guy, Dennis Stats Kelly, found Mule Train whenever he was digging through. We just pay homage to that squad a couple of years, like the 48 team or something, a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget him talking about Mule Train for the better part of a week, maybe a month. So yeah, that's a great name. Great name.
Dewey Snorter Luster played from 1917 to 1920. Of course, Wahoo McDaniel, 57 to 59. George Buster Rhymes. Ronnie Warhorse Stacy played from 68 to 71. And another one of mine and Rob's favorites, Rob.
Dr. Death
Williams. so those are some of the Sooner nicknames that have made it through. So we've been having fun, doing this when we have people on, just running through them real quick, trying to get their take. And like I said, we're going to try to narrow it down, do one of those Twitter bracket things that people do, and see what.
You mean the only thing that sports guys do on Twitter anymore is brackets?
Right, brackets.
Welcome to the club, man. You're gonna love it. That or polls.
Yeah, polls. Also, get your take on. We talked about it a little bit before you came on. Before we get into a day behind the scenes on a Sooner game, did you see Tyler Palmateer's from the transcripts about a little after, or about almost 4:00 today? Riley's quote on the 2020 season, and it is, by June 1st. If players aren't on campus, that will be very telling. Now, what are your thoughts? Or can you comment?
Oh no! I can comment.
Yeah.
I was in on that teleconference. I was listening in. I love hearing Lincoln's, and it's, again, I think we all need a little positivity right now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've had so much fun on Twitter because so many people are funny. And I've had so much fun because so many people really aren't, but they sure do think they are.
Yeah.
So I think when Lincoln says something like that, he's basically laying out, listen, everyone that's freaking out right now, I understand it, but let's flatten this curve. Now, if we get through April and then we get through May, and if by June 1, campus is still closed down, then maybe we start talking about it. Because to me, the way I interpreted it, what he had to say, and I don't really think there was much of a follow-up to it. But it was just, listen, they need, 15 to 20 practices to feel like they'll be ready for the season. So just maybe more than anything else, hey, if we can't get into the weight room still by that point, and we can't have position meetings, and we can't, get our guys for, I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, the 2 hours is ridiculous. I really hope, and I understand, listen, I'm not saying anyone is in the wrong here. Everyone's kind of trying to figure out their best, but whenever you're only getting your guys for 2 hours a week,
right?
Over video chat, like Skype or Zoom or whatever you use, that's frustrating because you're trying to do some different things. You got a new quarterback, but in that, real quick, positives. You do have two guys that have been on campus for a while at quarterback. You do have a defensive coordinator who's now had a year to put his system in, and this wasn't like last year whenever you had, Coach Grinch come in, Alex Grinch come in with Brian Odom and Roy Manning, and they were installing a whole new defense. So, long answer to a very short, good question is I think Lincoln Riley's point more than anything else was, that's going to be telling if we get to that point, but we're still a long way from it.
Right.
And unfortunately, guys in my position to where we talk sports all day long and we cover sports, then that's all we have to do is just the next big wave, I think, in the sports think tank, if you will, are people that are going to have all these ideas for things we should do whenever sports comes back. I saw Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk, right, that we just basically need to build a biodome and put a bunch of football fields in it and play football that way. I mean, it's just, there's people waiting to build football fields in the middle of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
You heard the report for the summer. We might have to push it up. And I think everyone's going to have these ideas over the next few weeks. But I'm confident, and maybe this is naivete on my part, but, I mean, I think we're going to be okay. I think when we get to about mid-May, we're going to get to a little bit more. I mean, heck, Terry, you might have a better sense of this than anyone else. But I think when we get to mid-May, we're going to start seeing hopefully that curve flattening to the point to where we can start thinking about organized activities a little bit more.
Right.
And I firmly believe we're going to be back and in the mix in June. And I think the summer heat's going to help out a little bit, and depending on which side you believe that matters or it doesn't matter. So I think more than anything else, that was Lincoln Riley's way of saying, I'm not going to worry about shortened seasons or anything of that nature right now. But if June 1, if we're still at that point, then that's going to be pretty telling as to where we are.
Well, I think Rob and I have talked about it, on the podcast and off the podcast, on the golf course last weekend that we're never going to get to be on again for at least another 3 weeks. Anyway, but I think what's going to be telling, it's not about it with all universities, with college football, college sports. It's not about whether or not they're going to be able to play. It's going to be based on whether or not they can open the campuses back up and let the kids from all over the country and world on every campus, because let's face it, every campus now is worldwide. The University of Oklahoma has kids from probably every country, and it doing that is kind of like what Japan and the Olympic Committee did, was like, is it smart to put 11,000 athletes, 4 months removed from a pandemic, into a confined space? That was their basis for their decision. And I think that's what the universities are looking at. Is it smart, whether it be summer or in fall, fall, do we bring, how many kids go to University of Oklahoma? Does anybody know if that, a bunch?
Oh, I can look it up right now while you're talking.
Somewhere in the 50s?
50,000 or
yeah, I think it's like 50 to 60.
Is it smart to bring 50,000 kids from all over the United States and, part of the world into a confined space again this soon after a pandemic? That's what the universities are having to look at. That's what the CDC and, all these people in charge of, it's with college, it's not the athletics part, it's bringing the students back. And
right.
That's what, if Oklahoma, what is going to really concern me, and that's why I kind of, didn't like this statement that Lincoln said, but I kind of like you, it's like, hey, summer school kicks in June, doesn't it? And if they can't come back to campus in June, now there's logistics to figure out, I think.
Yeah, and by the way, we were a little bit hot. We were a little bit high. I think it's right around 38,000 for enrollment right now. And again, I mean, Rob, I don't know what you think about it, but I think Terry's dead on. in that we're looking at a situation that if we get to June and we can't reopen campuses,
We're
then
done.
let's start to worry not necessarily about football not happening, but let's worry about what it's going to look like.
Oh, yeah.
Because I am a firm believer that we're not going to be able to have necessarily every seat filled early on. Now, maybe, later as the season progresses, it changes, but at least as we sit here, on the date that we tape, late March, early April, I do think there's going to be some attendance policies in place.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I think we'll still be playing football. But they got to open up the university. We
Yeah.
got to get to where we're comfortable to get all the kids together. You hit it on the head.
If they don't open the university back up to students this summer, I'm going to be really concerned. I mean, it's
Yeah.
going to look, because they're student athletes. Bottom line, is what everybody says, and whether you believe that or not, that's what they are,
Right.
And if they don't let them back in, for health concerns, not, and we may be past, flatten the line countrywide and working downwards. Is it smart to let those, bring 30,000 plus kids
Right.
into
Well,
a
I mean, it's
confined
really going
area?
to depend on how much control we get over the virus. If it becomes a thing of the past, just go down and get this pill and you're done with it. Then, yeah, they're going to open everything back up. We're going to be going full blast again, but
Yeah.
we'll see how that works
So
out.
what if they told you you could get cured of the virus if you let Mike Tyson hit you with a left hook? Would you do it?
Well, I don't have the virus, so no.
I will say I was having a debate with someone that asked the question, would you, and again, you have to realize when you ask this question that the loss of football would be crippling beyond just, say, our own selfish desires to watch football. And it'd be universally felt, not just on a campus
The
level.
financial impact across the
it'd
country.
be horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. But would you punt on the 2020 season as a whole, NFL and college football, if you were guaranteed that in 2021 the Sooners would win a national championship?
Punt. No.
Yep. Probably. Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's
We were debating
who
this
thought
on
of that?
Sunday
Did you
night.
did you think of that? Was that your question, or did somebody else come up?
Yeah, that's my morbid mind and the way that it was thinking.
What is wrong with you?
When we were trying to come up with college football conversation. Well, hey, here's one even worse. My partner on Sunday nights, Arnie Spanier, he wanted to do a segment where we suddenly restart our calendar to where there is AC. It's after Corona, and we can wipe clean one sports memory. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? We're in the middle of this right now. I don't think we can do that quite yet. Have a heart. But yeah, I obviously, fun aside, I think it's something that, maybe in June, if you guys have me on again, we sit around and we talk about this. Hopefully we're able to, sit close together and have microphones.
In here in the podcast palace where it's comfortable.
Right, and we're able to say, all right, students aren't quite back yet, but the plan looks positive. So, again, I'm not panicking yet. We've got a trip. My family has a trip planned for Disney in June. Saved for years for it, and they gave us the option to cancel it and get all of our money back right now. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm going to believe that by, June, I think our trip would be like June 15th. I'm going to believe by that point that we're back in the swing of things. So, and again, like this is me being overly optimistic, Chris. I'm not Kirk Herbstreit here when it comes to football. I'm not Jeff Van Gundy when it comes to basketball. I think we're going to find a way to get things in and kind of at least try to get back to a sense of normal because, and I've read everything and I've overlistened, and pandemics are something that have happened globally. And I think that's an oxymoron because a pandemic is saying it's globally. But infectious diseases like this that affect countries have been, unfortunate commonplaces. I mean, we've had a handful of them during our time, like the Zika virus, among others, SARS, and we've been pretty fortunate in the United States to where we've never been in this situation. So I kind of hope we continue to put our social distancing in place. I hope that maybe those of you who miss going to restaurants like I do understand that it's a short-term fix for a long-term gain, and we can continue to kind of suppress our selfish needs and stay at home, and people like, I don't know, you guys and Sooner Lisa and Blink and Riley can continue to entertain me on Twitter, so that way I'm not too down about not having any sports going on right now.
Yeah, okay. Now, what everybody has asked us for, okay, is that when we get you on, is a behind the scenes look, Sooner game day with the broadcast crew. So, let's start it off with, okay, if it's an 11 o'clock game, what time do you have to get up?
So this year was different than any other for me. So I'll give you this caveat, and then I'll just give what's normal. In 2019, I started doing the Sirius XM kickoff show.
Mm-hmm.
And so every Saturday morning, even when we were on the West Coast, I would do a show that was from 5 to 8 a.m.
Ugh.
So just to kind of give you an idea, is when we went to the Big 12 championship game, I'm showing up at the arena, or at the stadium, at like 3 in the morning to get in. So that's very much, extreme. But it was fun. I got to do the show with former Ohio State great Bobby Carpenter. It was great. But no, more normal is, an 11 a.m. game. What's 11 a.m. every single year? OU, Texas, right?
Yeah.
We're probably going to meet down in the lobby at about, 5:30. And by that time, everyone kind of groups up, and we're on our way by 6. We usually stay with the team. Most of us do. And so usually it's Toby and Teddy, and we'll pile in their cars, and maybe, our spotter, Greg Blackwood, might drive, or maybe our engineer, Michael Dean. And so we'll pile in. Usually it's kind of a 3-car train, and we all follow to our different. Some people have a parking pass in one area, some in the other. And then we get there, and usually security acts like they don't know a game's going on. So you pull into the park, you're like, "You're here for what?" And you're like, "Oh, you Texas football game." They'll finally let you in. But no, in all seriousness, we get there. Equipment, go back from an equipment perspective, and usually Michael and now his Padawan Drake, they'll get out either the night before or the day before, and they'll have everything set up, because I don't know if there's many broadcasts that have as technically challenging setup as we do, because not only do we have, Toby and Teddy up in the booth and Coach Merv, but also on headset, you have Toby's spotter, Greg Blackwood. You have a statistician in Dennis Kelly. And then you also add to it that you have 2 engineers. So you have 7 guys up in the booth, and all of them are on headset. Then you add to it that you have 2 guys down on the field. So you not only have 2 wireless mics, but you also have 2 wireless receivers, so we can hear everything that they're saying. So you've got a rather deep and loaded group of people. So that's usually set up on Friday. By Saturday morning, there's a few extra tweaks, like we got to check the wireless. So if it's an 11 a.m. game, we go on the air at 9 a.m. for our Sooner Radio Network pregame show. Toby, Teddy, and I do a pregame show that is usually 2 hours before our pregame show on the Sports Talk Network. So for the 9 a.m. pregame show, for an 11 a.m. kick, we're on the air by 7 a.m. And sometimes we get there in plenty of time to get set up, and it's a really small setup, an easy setup. And sometimes we're coming in hot. And, it's basically plug it in, dial it in. We're here. Let's go. So, yeah, that's kind of it. Friday nights, it depends. If we get a lot of prep done during the week, Friday nights can be, crew dinner. And then, maybe a few of us will hang out a little later and just talk football. Or, on the road, there's a lot of people that go on the road with the team. So you'll see familiar faces. If it's, former players, if it's guys like JR that you love to be able to shoot the breeze with and just talk football with. But, I've become an early night owl, or excuse me, that doesn't make any sense. I've become an early to bed guy. I have 3 kids. So if I can get away to a hotel, I'm going to fall asleep probably right after I eat. So, I kind of zigzagged a little bit, but basically, the setup crew gets down there on Friday. They get everything set up. I'm a technical dork, so I like to help out if I possibly can. 11 a.m. kick, we're going to get in our cars. If we're on the road together, and just using the Cotton Bowl as an example, we're going to be leaving that hotel at about 6 a.m. We're going to get up and make sure everything's set up. Toby has a set of cards that are sponsor reads, and there's hundreds of them. And he'll go through the sponsor reads, and there'll be a certain amount of sponsor reads that are my responsibility in the pregame show and on the sidelines. And obviously there's a certain set of in-game sponsor reads that are his. We go over a couple of final pregame thoughts. You know, the spotter, Greg Blackwood, and I will talk a lot because I'm down on the field and he's up in the booth, and it'll be like, who's not out there? Who don't you see? Then you're kind of chasing around. If you see a guy that's not in uniform, what's going on there? And it's just, we started doing our portion of the pregame show down on the field. So that way, we're on the air 2 hours early. And from, let's say, 9 to 10, I'm down on the field. So then that way, not only, do you have a little bit better perspective, but, maybe if it's a Fox game, if Mike Pereira or Brady Quinn's down there, you can grab them and they can come on with you. So it's organized chaos, but at the core of it is incredible preparation from, not saying me, but from Teddy's years of studying film and his film work coming into the game, Toby's meticulous work on his boards, understanding keys, his conversation with other play-by-play guys, and then, of course, his creative writing that, whoever was his – some of that's just God's gift, right?
Yeah.
To be able to write like he can. Those scene setters, he writes them all, man. I'm like, dude, I can write some of those for you or anything. It's just it's his brilliant mind. And then obviously the technical understanding of it, even though we'll have our back and forth of Michael Dean. So it's a really well-oiled machine that I'm just pretty lucky that I get to be a part of. And then when we're done, when the broadcast is over, after, chasing down as many people as we can in the locker room, I record all of my post-game interviews on my phone. So I pray that nobody calls me in the middle of it. That's all for interviews. and I text him or email him back up to Toby, and he plays them. And then, we go up, and if Michael wants help breaking down, we help him. If not, we'll sit around and wait for him. And then we all leave together and head our separate ways until we do it again the following week.
Okay,
So,
where do you
that's a lot.
where in that do you
at the end over now? But there's a lot to it.
Where at the end of it do you sit down and have an ice cold beer and just go, oh my God?
Well, depends on what happened in the game.
Yeah. Speaking of which,
there's a lot of times, my wife is not a sports fan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she never has been. In fact, I don't say it as a knock, but she is she just never did it. She doesn't. When I told her one time, I'm like, hey, I'm filling on the Pac-12 channel. She's like, I don't know what that is. So, but now it's gotten to the point where this is our 6th year having moved down to Norman, and she's into it, and my kids are into it, and so it's kind of cool to be able to come home. And while, if it's a drive from Dallas or Manhattan or a flight or whatever it might be, is they want to know, hey, how's the game? What was it like? What was the locker room like? So that's kind of that moment when you can unwind a little bit. I'll tell you what, guys, I love it.
I imagine.
I'm into it probably too much sometimes. And I sit there and I think there's so many great stories to tell. I'm glad you guys asked about the radio setup, but I think about even too that game day setup, from David Littlejohn, who drives the truck and drives the diesel down days before.
Yeah.
I think they leave like on a Wednesday when they got to go cross country. You got guys like Brad Camp and Chase Brown and his crew on the side of understanding the equipment and where it needs to be, and that's a daily thing. We just think, oh yeah, they get the uniform set up. No, it's a daily thing. Equipment has to be set up for practice, and it has to be set up the right way, because if it's not set up the right way, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Then there's the administration side, right? You've got the administrators, guys like Frank Tipton and Kenny Mossman, who have meticulously gone through dotting the I's and crossing the T's to make sure that there's no hiccups. The director of ops in Clark Stroud, the nutrition side of things, the strength guys you don't hear about, like Scotty Kolak and Caesar and Brian Keegan, all these behind the scene people, marketing, ticketing, you name it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I laid out radio. But on the football side of things, it's even more well-oiled and impressive to watch, because it's just such a massive undertaking.
Yeah. Now, one other thing is you talked about your run-in, which really wasn't a run-in, but with Obo on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about the sidelines during the Baylor game, down 28-3. Now I said Caleb's not in here. I don't know if I said it when you came on. Caleb, he was supposed to take his mom to see Star Wars for her birthday, but she wasn't feeling well. But those that listen, my wife has a lot of back problems, so he rented Star Wars tonight, and they're watching Star Wars together in the living room.
Oh, that's cool.
So, but I know how Caleb was when we were down 28-3, and I cannot repeat it on anything. Okay, the vulgarity. You think you raise your kid right, and then when he's losing it in a football game, and his mom is like, "Will you sit down and shut up? Make him." I'm like, he's 27 years old. He's 6'3", 250 pounds. He's bigger than me. So, but talk about the team. What it was like being on the sidelines for that game and slowly inching their way back in it in the second. Not really slowly. One fumble is what kept us from being in it real quickly. But the second half, you see Oklahoma just become the physically dominant, more athletic. From looking like a peewee team to looking like the team of the century, just dominating every aspect of that game. What was the sense like on the team? Were they down when they were down that much? And then when did it change, or what happened on the sidelines during that?
I gotta be honest. I am the eternal optimist. Always have been, always will be. It was challenged that night, and I had driven to Waco, so I knew that Jessica Cootie was riding back with me, and we were driving back that night. And I was just in my mind whenever we were at halftime, and I don't bug Lincoln when we're trailing at the half, and I happened to overhear him, and he didn't seem too down, and I kind of started. So then at halftime, I grabbed my little snack, chugged a couple Gatorades to try to make me feel like I did something. Kind of went back over just my notes and my thought, and I realized, there wasn't a lot of panic over here. There wasn't. There was one time after I think Jalen had put the ball on the ground where Lincoln came over, never yelled at him, just talked to him a little bit. I thought about, even the defensive line and even the secondary conversation. There was never any panic. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh yeah, I saw that come back coming by any stretch of the imagination, because. Listen, I don't know if you guys have been, but Waco when it's hopping, they're the worst. They're they really, and I mean that I think as an homage. Hey, you guys are the worst. You make it awful for the visiting team, so congratulations. But they have these dorks that jump around on the field, and they got megaphones, and they're yelling at the bench. They're not cheerleaders, but they're like yell leaders. Gabe Burkich is over there warming up, and you've got some dope with a megaphone that's yelling while he's kicking you into the nets. It's really. Honestly, their sideline and even it's kind of out of control and it's problematic. But we're now 28-3. What can you say? You just got to sit there and take it. But in thinking about that, I realized he never panicked. They never really engaged with those fans. And Kenneth Murray was always a guy that would engage sometime with fans, but he wasn't even really doing it. They seem to have an air of it's going to be okay. I didn't, but they did. And I'll tell you what, when they got that turnover, I think that was a moment where you just suddenly saw that, all right, this thing has turned.
Yeah.
And, it went from no panic and no fear to being the absolute positively wildest thing I've ever been a part of in the history of college football. I still can't believe they came all the way back. I can't believe Jalen looked as bad as he did in the first half and then turned it around and was as incredible as he was in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still in awe of it. And it was just one of those moments to where, to be honest with you, I still find myself from everything that day had. Sorry, my daughter came in here. She's going to bed. From everything that day had and everything the game had to, starting off in the pregame, is CeeDee Lamb going to play? And then watching him go through warm-ups and saying, oh, yeah, he's going to play. He looks great. And then realizing, wait, I've never seen him stretch with Benny Wiley before. All these little things that kind of seem to spell doom, and then to fall behind the way they did. Listen, guys, I've been a part of some pretty special games. OU, Auburn, and Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. There were obviously many great OU Texas games. I've been doing this since 2011. I don't know. Baker and Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if there were any that actually were sweeter than that, just based on how out of it this team seemed that they were. And I look back now, I think they never really panicked. Their coach and all their coaches stayed calm, but in the end, they found a way to get it done. And I still look back on it and think that it was, it all started with that turnover.
Yeah.
And from that point forward, they really became a different team.
Well, we talked about it, many a times. Just physically, that second half on the offensive, defensive, every position just physically dominated them. Like I hadn't seen them dominate a team like that in a long time. You know what I mean? Even the OU Texas game this year, with what we had 11 sacks and everything. It just for 2 quarters of a football game, Oklahoma just physically street fought them and just beat them down. You know what I mean? And it was just you almost couldn't believe you were sitting there watching. It was like, holy cow, these guys are going to come back. And then as it inch closer and closer, you're just I think it was halfway through the fourth quarter, we're like, we're going to win this game.
I know. I wish I was on the sidelines for that game. I promise you.
So, there's one other quick thing. Matt Kemp, he's a former Dodger in my mind. Matt Kemp was a pretty regular part of the Sidelines this year. He came to a lot of games, and he's buddies with Zach Selman, and he's a great dude, and he's a diehard Sooner fan. Well,
nice.
that game, he brought another former major leaguer named Junior Spivey with him. And the only time I got starstruck on the sidelines was when Mike Mayock was at Bedlam. That's the only time I went up and introduced myself to him. So I try to stay cool. I try to stay calm, whenever there's guys down there. And when we scored the go-ahead touchdown, the tying touchdown, Junior Spivey and I hugged like we were best friends. Had just seen each other for the first time in years, and it was one of the more exhilarating. I'm sitting here talking about it and getting chills. It was just one of the more exhilarating moments. And then you hear the roar, and you look and you realize the Sooner fans that were there. You guys were there at the coach's show when Lincoln told the story about his wife.
Yeah.
Right. When Caitlin had kind of started to walk around the stadium because just you don't want to see this.
Yeah.
You don't want to see your husband, your family go through this. And then all of a sudden, as they started to come back, she just kept walking because she's like, "Oh, they're winning while I'm out here. I'm going to keep walking." And I think everyone has stories like that from that game. Here, one more quick thing: we are putting that game broadcast. It's up right now in the archives, but we're going to go back through and we're going to re-air the entire game on the Sooner Sports Podcast. I think next week. So I'm all in on the classic games right now, and that's going to be one that. Let's see. So tomorrow night, Thursday, we're going to re-air OU Oregon from the Sweet 6 or the Elite Eight. This weekend, you'll get the OU women's basketball game against Kentucky. Next week is Dane Acker's no-no. And then so a week from Saturday, what would that be, April 2nd or 3rd, we're going to actually have the Baylor game on podcast radio form, so you can hear us losing our absolute mind.
I can't wait for that.
We'll never forget it.
Yeah. Yep. A couple other things real quick, and then we'll let you go.
Go ahead.
I'm
not doing anything.
Number one was I loved your tweet the other day. It was classic. The TV, the news station, local weather.
Oh yeah.
Didn't have Norman on the map, but it had Tiger Safari on the map.
Yeah. But so I'm not a big local news watcher. I support my friends that work in local news. But is it a normal thing to not have Norman on the weather map? Because I've noticed that a few times. But come on, Tiger Safari? Really?
Well, but you got to think about, I commented on it. You got to think about it, okay? I mean, a tornado coming to Norman, yeah, it's danger to the people, all of us that live here. But tornado going to the Tiger Safari lets loose tigers.
One of the most, I think, Oklahoma moments in the Tiger King Netflix series is whenever he's standing there. I think it was in episode 1. And he's on his four-wheeler, and there is a funnel cloud, a very strong nadir that's on the ground. He's just standing there talking about how it doesn't mix with an exotic part. I'm like, yeah, you're right, it doesn't.
Yeah,
so, it just threw me off.
But Yeah, I thought that
You know who's responsible for this tornado? Carol Baskin.
Carol Baskin, that's right.
But also, I want to tell everybody, and I want to thank you for coming on with it, because Rob and I are, we started this podcast in Caleb because we're just fans and we just, like talking football. Thought, maybe people would enjoy it. But yourself and Toby and Teddy, and a lot of the other guys out there in the media, but mainly you guys with the Sooner Sports Network have always been, gracious to us, always talk to us, and that's saying a lot. That you guys have an important job, but yet poor schmucks like me and Rob, that hey, we want to come up and talk a little bit of football with you. You guys are always willing to do it.
Yeah, I'm a schlemiel.
Well, man, and I say this, no BS at all. Your passion is why we get to do what we do.
Yeah.
If we didn't have fans that are as passionate as you guys, Terry, Rob, and by the way, Terry, you are right. It is really hard to hear Rob whenever doing this. So I'm so sorry, Rob, if I trampled all over you.
No, sir, no.
Say, man, playing let Rob talk. I'm sorry. It was so great when we started, but then I couldn't hear you. But and I mean it for the the incredible depth of listeners that you have. I just think about people that I see on my Twitter timeline that always have funny Sooner takes. You Steve Bullard and those guys that you just you follow on Twitter, but at their core, they're passionate Sooner fans. And Sooner Sports TV, OU on the Air, all these entities that we're proud to be a part of, they're not here unless we have a passionate fan base. We'll probably, if there's not passionate softball fans, I don't know what we're getting to do every single game. So,
Right.
I mean, while I appreciate you thanking me, man, thank you guys. And thank everyone that regularly takes part in what is a really cool. I've learned so much. Oh, by the way, if I don't mention Hype Man Harry, he's going to get mad at me.
Oh God!
But I've learned so much.
There you go, Harry. You got your take.
Yeah. I learned so much from listening to your podcast, just about everyone's story, and I got to admit, it makes me very jealous in a good way, because I don't have that story of my dad taking me to an OU game. And everything is my dad. We just grew up in St. Louis. My stories were Cardinal games.
Yeah.
My story were going to Blues games. So I love hearing people talk about their first, Sooner football moments and what those were like, and how they grew up with, what if it's a good luck charm. My pastor, Adam Starling, is a diehard Sooner fan over at Victory Family Church, and he talks about how he has this good luck football that he holds. No reason why, he just does it. I mean,
Rob doesn't Rob doesn't believe in that stuff. So
exactly. So I'm just a fan, and I'm just fortunate that maybe I stayed with it, didn't decide to go do something to just make this a side job, and the support of Sooner fans makes it all worth it. And I never could have imagined. I knew it was going to be fun. I didn't know that it would be this fun, and I didn't know that it would become this personal and important to me. And by that I mean I'm sad. Whenever it's not, some people, yeah, it's a paycheck. No. When they lose, I hurt. Whenever things go wrong, my heart breaks. It's just, I live it and I die it. And obviously we're part of the fun group, because we don't have to worry about practices. we don't have to worry about going to workouts. We get to call the game. And it's the passion that fans have to make it possible. So I'm very grateful. And I think I can speak for Toby when I say this. We don't take any of it for granted.
Yeah.
There's not a single moment where anyone says, "Oh yeah. Well, we've done this for 9 years, so we're fine." No. The grind is constant to be as informed and as keyed in as we can be.
Okay. Now, again, work on the Toby calling the classic games.
I love it. It's happening.
Okay. Also, Rob has this unhealthy infatuation, would we call it that, Rob, with Holly Rowe?
Not Holly Rowe.
Oh, that's my girl.
Not Holly Rowe. I like Holly Rowe, but I'm not infatuated with Holly Rowe.
I thought you were.
No, Maria Taylor.
Oh, Maria.
Yeah.
Oh, Maria.
Yeah, I'm in love with
I'll
her.
say this. One of the really cool things about doing the sidelines is getting to know some of the TV side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are very appreciative of the radio side of things, right? Holly is, Jen Taff at Fox is, they legitimately, they come up to you and they treat you like they're your friends. I know Jin's producer is an awesome dude, and he and I were there when the schooner went over, and he's like, who do we need to talk to? I'm like, come with me, and we like worked together. It was so cool. And then there's people that don't want to have anything to do with it, and that's fine. But I haven't really got a chance to know Maria Taylor, but Rob, I'll do my best.
Hey, I appreciate any help I can get here.
No, anything I can do to help. But I will say this: when you're watching Jenny Taft, when you're watching, I can't even think the girl that does Get Up and did the Peach Bowl. You're watching people on the sidelines that are truly invested, and they talk to us and they talk to the coaches, and it's really, really cool to see how much they put into it. So yeah, I'll do my best for you though, Rob.
And then one last favor is, if you need, game days or anything, you need help, carrying bags, shoes, cables, you've got my number now. Okay.
Yeah. Here's the only unfortunate thing: is everything's wireless now.
Well,
so,
hey, we can carry an antenna.
Find a way to fix this out.
Yeah, if hey, we're not, everybody, we've asked James. James hadn't called us. We've asked, Tyler Palmatier to, hey, next year Big 12 Day, we'll, go. He didn't call us. We chewed him out about that one. So we're just,
I think we need to get you guys credentialed for Big 12 Media Day.
Right? We tried to do that. We submitted a deal, and they.
Oh no, we might cause trouble, Terry. We cannot be trusted, Chris.
But Eddie Ratto was saying they would help us out as long as that when Tom Herman was up there, every time he'd say something, we would go, "That's not true, lies," and I was like, "I am all in."
Oh my gosh, you guys would be kicked out so fast. It would be funny.
Oh yeah,
but
might as well just start on the outside and yell from there, because
But yeah, I mean, we're all. But like I said, if you just need, any help, carrying bags, whatever,
talking to Maria Taylor.
Just I got the number now, guys. Same here. If there's any help, I've got my kid's bedroom / studio where I've got all these fancy things to try to make my microphone sound good. So yeah, man, I really appreciate you guys having me on. I appreciate Sooner fans, and it's a challenging time, but we're going to get through it, and we're going to have an awesome football season to look forward to. And I'll tell you what, the Oklahoma Sooners softball team is going to be better for this. It sucks right now, but this is going to be a very challenging couple of months, but I think a very fun 2020, 2021 ahead of us.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun.
Yep.
Chris, again, thank you so much for joining us. Guys, that's the podcast for today. Boomer up.
Boomer Terry.
Boomer Chris.
Boomer.
Sooner fans, you really need to go check out our podcast partners. First off, teambarfinder.com. Download their app on the Apple Store or on Google Play. Find out where you can watch your Sooners locally at your local pub. Also, go check out tailgateconnect.com for the best tailgates across the country. And go learn football from Jason Young, JY, and the Trench Warfare Report. www.trenchwarfarereport.com. Let's get this going.